Hello everyone, and today we're going to be launching the first installment of a new series I've been planning a little while on the channel, which is going to be Meta Mondays. It's going to be a breakdown of the last week's performance for all of the top decks in the metagame. We're looking at the top 10 decks right now within the last 7 days in terms of top performances, be it DV level 20, be it Diamond 5, Diamond 1, or be it tournament successes. Now the data is thanks to masterduelmeta.com. So if you're curious about getting a better breakdown of it, or if you want to view the source of the data afterwards, you can hop onto that website. That's where we're pulling most of this from. And we're going to basically have a look at the top 10 decks, see what makes them tick, what makes them good, why you may want to play them, and what sort of beats them, what sort of hand traps are they playing, what hand traps can you play to get around them. So we're going to start off here with Flounderies right at the top. Of course they are. While the best deck of the season thus far has been Prankeds, Flounderies is definitely no slouch, currently sitting at a tier 3 podium position on the tier list. This is generally what people are playing when it comes to Flounderies. It's pretty much cookie cutter. You can see all the way down to here, you're still talking 70%, so basically everyone is playing all of these cards, bar like 1 in 4. Then the rest of this is generally just the interruption choices that they're playing, but they're all playing 3 Rabina, the vast majority playing 3 Eaglin, 3 of the field spell. They're all playing the unexplored winds. The deck is fairly straightforward, simple. Everyone's playing roughly the same cards. You're constantly normal summoning, floodgating your opponent out, and generally taking control of the game. So it's a very straightforward deck. Not a lot of people are a fan. But it is what it is, you know. If that's your thing, then by all means. Prankeds, so Adventure Prankeds. The Adventure engine did a lot for Prankeds when it came out, because they didn't really have a way to extend past their normal summon for the most part. Generally with Prankeds, it was normal summon, link into your Meow Meow Moo, and if it got interrupted, you just sort of lost. There was nothing really you could do about it unless you had like Cross Out or Club of the Grave or whatever. Whereas now the Adventure engine gives this deck a whole new lease on life. So it does. So everyone is playing the Adventure engine. The vast majority of people, again, your ratios for the actual Prankeds themselves change an awful lot. There's a lot more flexibility in this deck. People are sort of switching between different hand trap ratios, different Pranked ratios. Generally speaking, it's largely accepted that you're playing DPE, that you're playing at least one of this guy, you're playing at least 2 of the Meow Meow Moo, you're playing 2 Doodle-Doo, this one, Doodle-Doo. So a good chunk of the deck, especially the extra deck, is fairly set in stone, but this deck has a lot more flexibility in it than the other deck. I think one in 90... Yeah, so one copy of Fatal Adventure, 93%. Some people are even playing it at 3 copies. Interesting. But everyone's playing it. Yeah, so again, fairly straightforward. We'll not linger too much on it. On to number 3, which is Live Twins, which initially I was surprised by it, but to be honest, after playing it myself and after sort of seeing other people playing it, I'm not surprised that Live Twins is seeing a big resurgence in terms of its popularity. For anyone who doesn't know how Live Twins work, they recently received new support in the form of their new boss monster, the Trouble Sunny. So generally how this deck works, it's got like it's got 2 main starters, which people generally play between 4 to 6 copies of in total. You've got the search cards for it, and then 90% of the deck is just hand traps. So everyone, you know, you're running your cross-out designators, you're running your, Ghost Ogre seems pretty popular at the minute, Effect Veiler is really strong at the minute. The deck is just running a whole bunch of hand traps, like 15 plus easily. It's got a few basic extenders. The deck itself is rather straightforward in how it actually operates. The extra deck is, again, fairly not necessarily set in stone, but it's really straightforward. Everyone is playing 3 copies of Sunny. It's not the cheapest of decks, but it's also relatively budget friendly. The only UR that's core to the deck that you, 2 URs you actually need would be Troubled Sunny and Secret Password. The rest of the deck is relatively affordable, so it's a good option for someone who just wants to play a lot of interruption, likes doing their link summons, and it's a really fun deck. So it is. It's not overwhelming. It's not super complicated. So Live Twins, glad to see they're getting a resurgence. Eldritch. Everyone knows what Eldritch does. They are setting up their floodgates. They are generally being hard to get rid of. It's very, very difficult just to break the board. Again, the deck is rather straightforward. A lot of people now running Lava Golem. At least 50% of people are running sort of Lava Golem in their Elvish decks, which is working out for them fantastically. So, you know, more power to you. Again, there's the breakdowns of the cards. It's really just your Elvish. Most people are playing the Lord of Heavenly Prison, which you can reveal it in your hand during your main phase. It protects your back row from destruction and is pretty much that straightforward. It just protects your set cards from being destroyed, so it provides a lot of advantage. Realistically, past that point, the trap cards are your choice of floodgates, your choice of trap cards for activation. Ace Dragon's Prison is a very strong one. It got a little bit weaker with the implementation of Flowenderies, but it's still pretty strong. Your counter traps, your Solemn Strike, Solemn Judgment are especially powerful. Dogmatic Punishment is especially powerful in combination with the Yentis. So a lot of really good stuff going on here. Not a lot of people are a fan of this deck, with the triple skill drains. Usually they're running things like Imperial Order, although I'm not seeing it here, which is interesting. No, there it is there, yeah. 97% of people running Imperial Order. You've got Summon Limit, so it's not very fun to play against, but I'm sure as a megalomaniac playing it, it's bound to be fun, I suppose. Adventure Tenyi, we've covered that deck more than enough times on the channel. Adventure Tenyi still coming in there at 5th place for the last 10 days. Really, really strong. I'll not spend any real time talking about that deck. Here's a rough breakdown of what people are playing if you want to take a screenshot or whatever of it. We've played this deck more than enough times on the channel to know roughly how it works. So if you want to know how it works, jump back and check those videos out and you'll see the deck in action and actually get it working. Next down the list we have Sky Striker, a deck that I've honestly never really been a fan of, but it's always sort of been consistently in the top cut of most competitive formats. Generally, it's just very hard to put down, it's constantly recurring. Here's generally what people are playing. It's a very tight engine of cards. They've got a lot of versatility with their Widow Anchor, a lot of searching with their Mobilize, of course, being able to grab whatever they want constantly. DPE brings an awful lot to this deck. They haven't received any new support really since DPE, but they have been taking fantastic advantage of the tools that they have been given. The deck's fairly straightforward, not a lot of changes going on at any point. You just want to fill your graveyard with spell cards. All of your spell cards gain additional effects when you've got at least 3 or more different spells in the grave. So you just want to spam your graveyard, fill it with spells, and then generally sort of grind down your opponent in a longer match. You want it to be a longer match with Sky Strikers. You're trying to poke them every turn to get damage across the board before you're setting up for your final kill. So Sky Strikers, not really my cup of tea. A lot of people really have a lot of fun with the deck. It is hit quite heavily by the ban list. Kagiri the 1, Widow Anchor to 2, Engage to 2. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Hornets to 1. I think that's going to continue to be the way it is for a while because the deck is still performing really, really well. There's no reason to unban these cards. It's performing. Maybe if the deck falls off a little bit with some, upcoming cards, at that point, maybe we could look at taking some of these cards off or at least lessening the restrictions. But until then, I think the deck is exactly where it needs to be. Moving on to Swordsoul Tenyi. Swordsoul Tenyi again, the same amount of top cut finishes as the Sky Strikers, coming in at 18 across the last 7 days. Really, really solid performance. This is the deck we got to. We had a recent video on this deck going from DV level 17 to 19, and then we went from 19 to 20 using the Adventure Tenyi. So there's more than enough videos on the channel about that deck as well if you want to see generally how it is played. I'll throw up a quick breakdown of it on the screen. These are the hand traps and everything that people are generally playing and the ratios. Again, more than enough videos on the channel if you want to get a solid, really good look at how this deck is actually played. Otherwise, you can screenshot that or just visit the website yourself and sort of take that down and do with that as you will. Moving on then to Heroes. This was a surprising one. I didn't expect Heroes to be taking off so much, but while they're not in the top 10 for the season thus far, or at least for the last couple of weeks, they've really seen a big spike in the last week or so. So they're actually coming in at number 8 in the top 10 here for the last 7 days. So that's fantastic to see Heroes doing so well. And as far as I can see from the breakdown, they're not really doing anything different. It's just what they're doing just happens to be winning games. They've got their Hero Lives at 3, which is amazing. That was recently brought to 3 in the TCG as well. So Hero players in the TCG are loving it. They also just got a whole bunch of new support in the TCG. Still missing 1 or 2 cards, but they are generally performing really well. Maybe that's why we're seeing such a spike. Maybe we've got some TCG players coming in, playing a bit of heroes and showing all of us how it's done. But I mean, the deck itself isn't really doing anything new. It's doing the same stuff it's always done. It's, you know, negating your entire field with Plasma. It's banishing anything sent to the graveyard with Darklaw. It's popping all your cards with DPE, with Sunrise, with the Absolute Zero lock. It's just got a little bit of everything, to be honest. You know, that Malicious Being? Please tell me people are running Malicious Being. Are you not? It's not on the breakdown. I guess people must be cutting the Malicious Being. I'm not sure if I agree with that play, but these guys are the pros, so what do I know? But yeah, this deck just has a little bit of everything, to be honest. Heroes can sort of do whatever you want it to. Take that as you will. DDD, Different Dimension Demons, is a supremely interesting one. I've been building this deck, and I have been trying to learn how to play it, and it is slowly but surely melting my brain. It is a very complicated deck, but it is doing very, very well. Now, what is causing it to do well? It's gotten a couple of new cards, primarily in the form of their Divisor. Divisor is basically 2 interruptions baked into one. While it's face up in the field, if your opponent, once per chain, when a monster effect your opponent activates, you detach 2 materials or destroy a dark contract you control, steal your opponent's monster and equip it on his materials. If you have even 1 face-up dark contract, that means you get to use this effect twice on your opponent's turn, and you will almost always have at least 1 face-up dark contract, because you'll almost always have the searching spell. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. So fantastic card. They're also playing the Wave High King Caesar, which can negate a card effect that includes the effect that special summons a monster. You just read this here. Yeah, so a spell or trap or monster effect that involves special summoning, this guy negates, and that is not once per turn, so that is 2 negates baked into one as well. So between the 2 cards, the Divisor and the High King Caesar, you're already talking 4 interruptions, and that's before you look at Siegfried, before you look at Baron de Fleur, before you consider Zeus's in the deck, before you consider hand traps, before you consider the Headhunt as well, a brand new card, searchable off of the Griffin, which was also newly added. You will use the Griffin, it will search for the Headhunt. Headhunt steals an opponent's monster. There's 5 interruptions built into your core combo, 3 of which are stealing your opponent's card. So really, really strong at the minute. It's very complicated, so do pick it up at your own peril. It takes a lot of practice to learn, but once you've actually got it down, it is a really, really fun deck, and I look forward to making a video on the channel. We'll get a better breakdown of it then. And lastly, we have the tried and true virtual worlds that have been around from launch and performing admirably ever since. They are banishing all of your cards, they are summoning the true king of all calamities, and they are generally making your day worse. Now, they are also taking very strong advantage of the adventure engine. As we can see, all but 4% of players are finishing with it. The adventure engine, again, same thing it does for the prank kids. It just adds an additional layer where, as with virtual worlds before, if you were able to stop them from putting a face-up virtual world card onto the field, they generally struggled to actually get any momentum going, whereas now the adventure cards gives them a way to bait out negates, gives them a way to bait out additional cards, activations, gives them a way to put advantage onto the field. Generally speaking, they add a lot of power to the deck, as well as not compromising the core of the deck, because none of these guys activate in the field. Generally how they work is you'll have a face-up virtual world card, you'll target it, send a different card of a different frame from the deck to the graveyard, special summon your monster, and then get an additional effect of some description. You're summoning out your big boss monsters, your Shen Shen to banish anything sent to the graveyard, your Zeus, you're summoning your true king of all calamities, you've got Baron de Fleur in there, you've got Break Sword, so you've got all sorts of really, really strong cards that the deck can take a very good advantage of, because it's spamming all sorts of different level 3s, level 6s, rank 6s, level 9s, really, really strong overall. So that's a full breakdown of the top 10 in terms of just a general overview of what they're at. What we're going to do today is we're going to take a closer look at example duels of the top 2 Flounderies and Prank Kids. There's going to be a live action duel here, one of each. We're just going to hop in raw, no editing or anything like that, and we're going to see how those 2 decks in particular perform. Let's get on the game number 1. Alrighty. let's get into game number 1 here. We're going to be using Prank Kids first of all. We are going first. We lost the coin toss, so I imagine our opponent's playing some sort of numeron nonsense. Hopefully they don't have a ton of ways of interrupting us. If they have Maxi, I think we're just going to have to cry. We're going to normal summon our Prank Kid Fancy. So how does this deck work? No interruptions there, so that means unless he's got us toggle off, that means no Maxi, no effect failure, no imperm, nothing. You can still have Ash, I guess, technically. Ash would be depressing. We're going to activate Prank Kid's place. Oh, he does have an Ash. Please waste it. We should have used that first. Two focused immune commentary instead of, like, you know what, all part of the plan. We just wanted to demonstrate, you know, it was all part of the plan. Don't even worry about it. All right, so he ashes the Prank Kid's place. What an absolute buffoon. Let's link summon then into the Meow Meow Moo. What do you actually need to make this deck work? You need any singular Prank Kid. That is it. You link summon into your Meow Meow Moo. I'll be honest, I'm not totally the best at these at this combo. I'm fairly new to this deck. You're gonna send a card from the deck to the graveyard. We're gonna send the Prank Kids Pandemonium from the deck to the grave. That is your fusion spell card. We're gonna special summon out to the field another one of our Prank Kids. So we're gonna summon Fansies this time. Fansies then and our Meow Meow Moo are going to summon out the Doodle Doo. They've all got very automatic names, very childish names. I mean, Prank Kids. So we're going to use Lampsies here, Chain Link 1, and then the Doodle Doo as Chain Link 2. It's more important that we get the extender on the board rather than the search, to be honest, but I mean, we know that we're going to get both of them through at this point. He has no interruption left in his hand. We're going to draw into the Prank Kids Pranks, which is going to let us put an additional token on the field in just a moment. We're going to special summon another monster to the field. The monster we're going to summon will, of course, be the Prank Kids Roxy's. Let's see if our opponent has... Oh, they have Nibiru, which is the problem, of course. Nibiru's not great. You hate to see it. We have Fansies in place. All right, what we're gonna do is another wee link summon. We're gonna link summon into Doodle Doo. Now, normally we would activate the pranks, right, to get an additional token so we can go into DPE and stuff like that. Now, given the fact that our opponent has a Nibiru, we don't necessarily want to do that. We're gonna get rid of pranks. Not typically what you would do, but we sort of need to do something. We're gonna grab the Dropsies, then add it to our, summon it to the field. Oh, him having the Nibiru really sucks. Okay. If he nibs, we still have plays. Alright, we're gonna use the Doodle Doo. We're gonna add back Pandemonium, and we're gonna add back the Lampsies. So your biggest boss monster you want to actually summon off of the deck is going to be your Battle Butler, which is a fusion of your Lampsies, Dropsies, and Fansies. So red, blue, and green is the key colors to remember. So now we've got red, green, and blue, as well as our fusion spell card. Now, it's a quick play spell, so typically we would activate it on our opponent's turn. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set our cards, and we're going to go to end phase. That is going to prompt him to use his Nibiru. That is, of course, going to be a problem because it's going to get rid of our Dropsies. But what are you gonna do? Such as life. Oh no Nibiru. Perfect. That's excellent. Okay, so we have our Imperm, we have Caught by the Grave, and we have our Fusion. What's so great about the Fusion? The Fusion is a double Raigeki during your opponent's turn. What's our opponent going to target here? The place? Do we even care about that? I don't think we even care about that. I'll be real. I'm just going to let that happen. We're going to wait until our opponent maybe does something. Waiting on the Pandemonium isn't always the best of ideas. Sometimes you're better just getting it out there, putting everything on the board and going for it. But we're going to Our opponent seems to be playing a sort of, again, a go second type deck. They're playing Mystical Space Typhoon. I dare say they're going to be playing Kaijus as well. We don't really want to get our Battle Butler Kaiju'd, so we do want to sort of hold off on that. If he Kaiju's us or does something else, we want to catch him when he's doing that, rather than commit to a play that we can't sustain. Let's see what our opponent has got in store for us, or whether or not he's realized that he is simply outclassed. Anytime now. Set 1. Really? I didn't realize we were playing the original Duel Monsters era. Well, if that's the way you want to play it, I'm going to show you a mechanic you're very familiar with. That will be the Fusion Summon. Let's go Pandemonium. This is only activatable in the main phase, so do remember that. It cannot be activated in the end phase. So now what we're going to do is use all 3 of our monsters in a Fusion Summon for the Battle Butler, and our opponent scoops it up. Easy as that. Whenever you Fusion Summon using all of the prank hits, you're going to summon your Battle Butler. It contributes itself to destroy everything on your opponent's field. And your Meow Meow Moo in the graveyard, the first time one of your prank hits would tribute itself on your opponent's turn, you can banish it instead. So that means you get to use its effect twice, which is nuts. And it's not a hard once, or it's not even a soft once per turn. You can use that effect twice without any consequence. Really, really strong. We had the Empire and Call by the Grave. We had the follow up. We're going to summon out 3 more prank hits. Nuts. That's what the deck does. Really, really straightforward. Really, really strong. Let's get into game number 2 with some Flounderies. Alright, looks like we're jumping into a game of Flounderies here. Not the greatest of hands opening up here. However, we do have the Dimension Shifter. And the Dimension Shifter is going to mess up a Phantom Knights player. Unless he's got Call by the Grave here, he's in a lot of trouble. Let's see what he's got. He's got something. I feel like if it was Called by the Grave, he wouldn't have hesitated. Oh no, it's resolved. Oh, he's got nothing. So Dimension Shifter is a very, very powerful card. Anything that would be sent to the graveyard for 2 full turns is banished instead. And now that is very important, because your cards don't care about being banished at all. In fact, in the most cases, it's actually beneficial for them. So we don't mind our own cards getting banished, but a deck like Phantom Knights cannot have their stuff getting banished. That is simply not a possibility for them. We're going to use Pot of Prosperity. We do not need our extra deck in any significant capacity whatsoever. The vast majority of the time, you're locked out of special summoning anyway. So we're just going to ditch 6 cards, and we're going to get ashed. Not the worst thing that could have happened. That's fine. It's not ideal, but you know what? It could always be worse. What are we going to do then instead? We have a couple of little options, but we don't have a lot of strong ones. Okay, so that ash does in fact actually really hurt. We're going to use Gold Sark. Gold Sark's going to banish a monster, a card here from our deck, full stop, and then in 2 turns we get to add it to our hand. So we're going to go for the Eaglin, so that if we happen to draw into any of our monsters, we can then just basically take advantage of that. We're just going to summon our barrier statue. That's going to trigger the Eaglin then to add itself back to our hand. I forgot that this was even a combo. I forgot that this is any winged beast. It will add itself back to its hand, which is perfect, because now we can use Flounderies and the Magnificent Map. This is going to allow us to reveal a level 1 Flounderies monster in our hand. Then we banish another one with a different name from the deck, and we get to additionally normal summon the one on our hand. So we're going to banish the Rabina. Let's ditch the glossy one here. Then we get to summon our Eaglin. Eaglin then on summon is going to search our deck for a level 7 or higher monster and then allow an additional summon. And Rabina is going to add itself back to our hand, much like the Eaglin did. And that's how Flounderies work. All of the little monsters, when banished, will add themselves back to the hand. When summoned, will allow some sort of effect to take place and then allow an additional summon on top of the one you've already done. So generally really, really powerful. We're going to add the Flounderies M-Pen M-Pen basically floodgates all of your opponent's attack position monsters. They cannot use their effect. We're going to normal summon now the Rabina out to the field. Rabina, when summoned, is going to search our deck for a level 4 or lower. Our opponent scoops it up. He's had enough. He knows he's going to lose. He can't do anything about that. And that is a free win. We're potentially going to get one more here because that was awful short. So we'll jump into game number 3. All right, getting in the game, well, the second game of our Floenderies deck, we've got a pretty decent hand here. Again, I don't know why we're not opening up any of our actual just Floenderies cards, but we are opening up the Dimension Shifter, so you know what, I can't be mad. Dimension Shifter, of course, going to banish anything that would be sent to his grave. That is going to greatly hinder the fusion-based strategy of Despia. It's going to really nullify that Aliber's effect, his recurring effect later on. He's going to grab his Despian Theater anyway, and he's just going to pass turn, because anything he tries to send to the grave is going to get banished. He doesn't want any of that. He simply passes to us. That is the power of the Dimension Shifter, and it lasts for 2 full turns. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go for some terraforming. We want to see if our opponent potentially has an Ash Blossom, and they do not. Now, also bear in mind, so long as Dimension Shifter is live, your opponent cannot use the likes of Effect Veiler on you. They cannot use the likes of Ghost Ogre on you. Those cards must be sent to the graveyard to activate their effects. Now, they can still use Ash, because it just has to be discarded, but they can't use things like Effect Veiler, which is normally a big counter to this deck. So do bear that in mind. Now we're going to go for the Pot of Duality. We're going to reveal the top 3 cards of our deck, and then pick any card among them to add to our hand, and we happen to hit the Rabina, the best possible card we could have gotten. Let's normal summon it. Our opponent can't even use Imperm either because they control the Aliber, so they are cooked. Our Rabina here is going to, on normal summons, going to activate to search our deck for the Eaglin, then we'll allow an additional summon. It's going to additionally summon the Eaglin. And that's just it. Nobody wants to sit and play against Floenderies. Like, that's the power of the deck. We're going to summon Eaglin, search for M-Pen, summon M-Pen, grab our 2 Floenderies back in to be reused during our opponent's turn. The trap card there prevents our opponent from using any monster effects on the turn it's activated. Pretty nuts. Overall, the deck is fantastic. I'm not going to go in for a third game, but that's Floenderies. Really strong deck. Let's get into the closer. So, in closing, I'm pretty sure after those games, I know they weren't played the whole way through, but I mean, people just scoop, what can you do? But I hope now you're getting a better idea of how these top decks sort of work, and a little bit more about sort of what's good about them if you want to build them, as well as potentially picking up on a few of their weaknesses, which, you know, we can discuss as we go on throughout. If you want to have conversations with myself or anyone else about these types of decks, or just want to get a discussion going, you can always hop into the Discord, where we'll be there answering questions, organizing whatever it is you want, and, you know, submitting deck lists and such. If you want to be doing things like that, absolutely. Apart from that, feel free to subscribe, leave a comment for what you want to see below, and I'll catch you all in the next one.